Today, I want to talk about using intuition as your greatest tool, also known as stop asking other people what they think. So, in my work as a coach, I am often asked what I think about somebody else's work. And I believe that it's my job to try as hard as I can to not simply answer the question that my client is asking, but to truly think about the question in a deeper way and challenge my client to use his or her own intuition to discover an answer to the question that leads to the greatest result for them. Now, here's the deal. I don't do this to be an asshole or to withhold knowledge from my clients, okay? Quite the opposite. In fact, I do this because I believe that intuition is one of the greatest tools that the entrepreneur has at his or her disposal. So, often when we ask somebody else what they think, a person or we aren't really seeking something new. We're just looking for validation, affirmation of a choice that we've already made. This need to be affirmed by others can often be masked as perfectionism or even pragmatism. I'm just trying to be realistic. I'm trying to be practical here. But at its core, it comes down to one of two things. Number one, our fear that we will make a decision that isn't beyond reproach. We're going to do something that someone can challenge or criticize. Number two, our shame that there could be a better answer than the one that we're currently offering. Okay? Essentially, when we ask, we aren't really asking for advice, we're asking for validation. We want to be right. When it comes to solving our own problems, we usually know deep inside what must be done. And often it's the very thing that we're avoiding, the hard choice that we are simply afraid to make. And what's required of us is that one choice that we almost always refuse to make, and that's that we have to change. But we resist this change by checking in with others. We use the opinion of others as a gauge to help us decide if this change is worth making or not. Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, instead of relying on our own measured experience, our own intuition to drive our decision making, we defer this very important task to generally uninformed opinions that others might have. So I was having a discussion about this with a coach friend of mine just the other day, and he led me through a little exercise to illustrate intuition. So I'm happy to share it with you, as I think it really shows how beautifully intuition can work in our everyday decision making. Okay, so first, think about this for a quick minute. I want you to pick a decision that you're trying to make that pits two options against one another. Okay, any decision. Now, I want you to grab a coin or anything you can flip. Anything you can flip. I want you to assign option 1 to heads and option 2 to tails. Okay, got that? Now, here's the deal. I want you to, in a second here, I want you to flip the coin and catch it, but not look at it. I want you to keep it covered. Okay? All right, go ahead. Now, let's go ahead and flip the coin, cover it up. Okay, now here's the cool part. Are you ready? What do you hope the coin is, heads or tails? That's intuition at work. Intuition is a process that gives us the ability to know something directly without analytic reasoning, bridging the gap between the conscious and subconscious parts of our mind, and also between instinct and reason. So as a culture, we learn to believe that rationality is what should prevail when making decisions about anything from crucial business type decisions to what we're going to eat for lunch. But what about that inner voice, that gut feeling, that little something instinctual from within us that tells us how we feel beneath those layers of logic? So we need both intuition and reason to make the best possible decisions for our businesses. I'm not saying we rely 100% on intuition, okay? But to make these decisions for our businesses, our families, ourselves, we need them both. But unfortunately, many of us, even when we experience success using intuition, are comfortable with the idea of using it as a guidance, are uncomfortable with the idea of using it as a guidance tool. We're so embarrassed to say that we follow hunches. We mistrust these sometimes cryptic messages that our instincts send to us. and consequently, we diminish our capacity to leverage the power of our own instincts right when we need them the most. So there's lots of things that get in the way of our ability to use intuition to our greatest advantage. So here are just a few of the more common ones. First one is shoulds, okay? We should do something. When we're outwardly focused, we think about our behavior as it relates to some rules, the preferences, or the expectations that somebody else has set, rather than looking inwardly and allowing our own thoughts and needs to guide our behavior. So the shoulds presume that there's a right answer to our question instead of accepting the fact that there are, in fact, very few rights and wrongs, only decisions and choices that lead to more decisions. So the first one is shoulds. The second is overthinking. So when we put excessive thought into each and every decision that we make, okay, that can lead us away from our gut instinct. This behavior can become super paralyzing. It can leave us overwhelmed and confused with no direction because we keep thinking about what's the right decision, and we keep just, adding variables into what it is that we're thinking about. When we constantly seek the right answer, it often leaves us with no answer at all. The third thing is a need for approval, okay? When we look outwardly for signs that we're doing the right thing or making the right decision, especially from those who we look up to or admire, we can become unable to think for ourselves. So this inability can become paralyzing, and it can cause us to seek answers that we believe are beyond reproach from those people. And the fourth one is lack of self-confidence, and that's a big one, okay? When we don't believe that we're good enough to seek out opportunities to confirm the bias, okay? When we don't believe that we are good enough, we seek out opportunities to confirm that bias. Okay. On the contrary, when we're confident in our abilities, we are less apt to second guess our own decisions and much more likely to rely on intuition. So those are four things that are standing in our way of our ability to use intuition to our greatest advantage. The shoulds, overthinking, the need for approval, and our own lack of self-confidence. So how do we develop the ability to rely on intuition? Okay, so developing intuition, it doesn't have to be a challenging task. In fact, much like other behaviors, it can be developed over time using some simple methods. And I'm going to give you one today that I use with my clients and that I use myself. 4 steps. First one is slow down. The second is listen to your body. The third is focus on you, not them. And the fourth is act. So number 1, slow down. There are very few decisions that must be made immediately. So taking the time to slow down and clear your mind before making a decision allows your sympathetic nervous system, that's the system that controls the fight or flight response, to relax and make way for your parasympathetic nervous system to respond. Okay? So by slowing down and removing the urgency from the decision, you're allowing your intuition the space to operate. The slower pace helps you shift your perspective and clear away all the distractions so you can see what truly matters. So that's number 1, slow down. Number 2, listen to your body. Okay? Intuition is a sense, it's a feeling, and you have to learn to recognize when it's active and trying to tell you something. So the physical sensations that you're having, they're not just butterflies in your stomach or a tightness in your chest, but they are real and tangible indicators that you can learn to recognize over time. So when you know that there's a certain physical sense that happens to you when you know that you should be doing something, learn to listen to that. That's number 2, listen to your body. Number 3, focus on you, not them. As you make decisions, ask yourself, what is important here for me? What do I need? Ignore what others need and purposefully direct your attention to your personal needs. Now, this isn't selfish, okay? This focus on yourself is all about giving yourself full permission to consider the impact of your decision on just you. So when you concentrate on your needs, you are going to find your intuition. So that's number 3, focus on you, not them. And number 4, act. Now this is the critical step in developing intuition. You must take action. You must get to the point of no return and actually make the decision and act on it. Only then will you begin to realize that more often than not, what you believe to be the right answer is exactly what the situation requires. All right, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, let me know. Stop asking other people what they think.